Hello and welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming to this month's Poem Jam. I'm John Smalley. I'm a librarian with the San Francisco Public Library. While we're waiting for everyone to join us, I want to take a moment to acknowledge our community and to tell you about one or two upcoming programs. So on behalf of the Public Library, we wish to welcome you to the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their obligations as caretakers of this place. As guests, we who live in their territory recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. As you all know, April is National Poetry Month, and we are now about midway through a month of poetry programs. And I want to just mention two of those programs now. This Sunday, April 16th, California's poet laureate Lee Herrick will be reading with special guests, including Kim here. And then at the end of the month, on April 30th, Tongo Eisenmartin, the current poet laureate, will lead a program called Harlem Revisits the West. And those programs will both be in the Corrett Auditorium. There are other programs as well. You can learn about them, and some are online by picking up one of these flyers from the table over there, or one of our newsletters. Feel free also to help yourself to coffee and cookies and the limited edition Poem Jam 2023 button designed by Doug Sellen. And anything else? Or you can visit our webpage, sfpl.org, the events calendar, to learn more about our exciting programs. Oh, one last thing, there's also a beautiful Poets in Memoriam book display on the third floor where we have tens of thousands of poetry books in 41 languages. That exhibit honors poets, especially local poets who have died in the last 3 years. And that's all I have to say as regards announcements. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Kim Shuck. Please give a warm welcome to Kim.
And you can tell that it's National Poetry Month because the poets in the audience are all kind of looking slightly masticated by the month. So I want to introduce, just for recognition purposes, Megan Wilson, whose artwork is on the cover. Not the photograph, but the painting. Megan is part of the Clarion, or I don't actually know what your title is anymore. Has a title in flux with respect to the Clarion Alley Mural Project, and is one of the people I've been working with a lot lately. And I just really loved that cover, that for cover art, painted pavement. So this volume is the first in a series of regional anthologies from around California. And I figured I'd start with San Francisco because if I goofed up and completely spaced asking somebody that I sort of really wanted to have in it, people would forgive me because they know me well enough to know there's another project floating by any minute and you'll be involved in that one. So we only have a couple of the readers from the book tonight because I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of readings for this book. And you've now committed by being here for this reading to being at all of them. So I hope you understand that. With respect to the reading on Sunday, I love that we're calling me a guest since I booked myself for that one. So having organized that event, and we hope to see many of you out for that as well. I'm going to start by introducing Elizabeth Bailey, who when I was a child, Fort Point was really important to me, and I was delighted that she wrote a poem about it. So also, we've worked together a bunch, and read together at a bunch of different venues, and it's just really a delight always to have you at the microphone. So welcome up to the microphone, Elizabeth Bale. And since we didn't really deal with this, you can be at either one of them. If you want to be there, you can do that. We just pull it down.
This one
This one's a little bit.
feels so exposed. So, hello, everyone. Let's see. Can you hear me all right? Yep. Well, wow. Thank you. This is so wonderful. Happy to be here. Happy you're all here. And yes, I'll get to the rest of them. Anyway, I'll start with top of Fort Point. For the first time, I climbed 3 flights of stairs to the top of Fort Point. I climbed and walked, looked and thought about the story in these old bricks. Post-Gold Rush, pre-Civil War, between bay and ocean, rescue equipment below the bridge to save the unsaved. Weakness bound with loss, depression, desire for more, better, different, another lot in life, the commonplace plague. Unguarded, I keep looking for a way to climb to new vantage points, to see for the first time again, because where joy visits, I want to linger. And I'm going to read Jack's poem. In Memoriam, George Guess, August 7th, 2020. On your birthday, George Guess, a few days after you passed away, how can a giant sequoia not be beginning to grow in the woods where you will be buried? You, who've the same name as that creator of the syllabary of the Cherokee people, as you've given brilliant voice to the people of Yorkshire with your paintings. Grow tall in death, George Guess, with your always deep wit and humor of what is wisdom's highest, most glorious sky. Mm-hmm. See. This is pretty new, and I'm going to dedicate it to my twin sister. I've not actually ever really written a poem to her, but she's just about the dearest person to me ever. It's called Halves, or Not by Half. While I'm alone, living a half life, out and about among others, I hear only half conversations. The projections were disappointing. I can't believe she said that to you. Prostitute, prostitute, prostitute. I read only half-truths on the news app on my phone. CEO stabbed to death in Soma. Office buildings to house the unhoused. 5 things you must know to survive the big one. I'm only half trying not to live a half life. Half the time I might be right. Being at the halfway point isn't the 50-yard line, nor is it equidistant between start and finish. I recently took a class through the Zen Center. Yes, it was on Zoom, but it was a book study of Suzuki Roshi's Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And one of the little tiny informal talks in this unbelievable book was called Constancy. And there was a lot of great imagery in it, so here you go. Constancy. In the midst of it, it's blinding and deafening. It's a blank canvas, an empty page, or a void to avoid. It's stillness itself, and clearly opaque. Without form, there are no sides to take, no top to rise to, no bottom to fall to. In a flicker, a sky draped in black, the new eagle moon smiles as the crow flies by. And I'll finish with the title poem, my little recent chapbook. Horizon. Future full of promise in the persistent distance, a flat line alive with buildings, mountains, waves, and people. My eyes on the horizon, I see the same view from the same place. Nothing changes. But it's a different time of day, season, later in life. The past is different, now creating a changed future. Change is infinite. As I push my field of vision onward, the horizon rolls with the revolving earth, changing all the time. My edges are called white, called woman. They travel with me without asking. These edges contain my blood, brain, and bones, a transient container, acclaimed and blamed, contain my heart, mind, and soul. Invisible, they say, enduring, universal, what makes us human from hedonist to humanist. My breath and senses keep up with me as I'm not wandering, but headed toward that flat line with no buildings, mountains, waves, or people. Just me and the horizon that's rising to meet me. Promises kept, future of no changes. All change persists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisbeth. On my list, E.K. Keith comes next, but is that okay? There was a delay. So let's see. E.K. Keith has been my partner in crime and my friend for some years now. I was thinking about it since I was doing readings at, well, let's see, it predates Adobe, I think. Yeah, since before I was the poet laureate. And she's one of the great heroes who's a teacher in this city and is a privilege to know. So welcome up to the microphone. Now that she's unfolding her poems, I can actually say this. Please welcome to the microphone my friend E.K. Keith.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm going to make this taller. Oh, choices. Huh. Well, thank you for all being so wonderful and being here on time. You know, timeliness is probably some sort of American virtue. But you know, these minutes, they just get by me. I'm so excited to be here for this little book, This Wandering State. I'm really pleased to be in this book. It's, I think it's the coolest book on my shelf right now is how I feel about it. Like I feel like I'm part of a very interesting choir. And so I think I'll just start with this one. Colonized American Daughters. English has left me speechless in at least 3 other languages. My mother tongue ate up all the words that might have been mine. If you can't say it, you can't think it, and you can't do it. What's left? All that's left. A few family keepsakes, some quaint old trinkets, a recipe or two, self-loathing, a desire to fit in. This is how wisdom gets lost and never comes home. Thanks for having me in this book. Yeah, so it's always so great to start with a really heavy poem. Gives me a second here to, maybe read something else really heavy. Because that sometimes happens. I wrote this book a few years ago called Ordinary Villains with Nomadic Press, and so I'm gonna pick something out of here just for a little shift. I'll give you some love. The garden. Sunshine. The flowers have all spread their petals in the heat, waiting for hummingbirds to come. Even the bees sound louder in the sun, the sound of flowers making love, waiting for bees, for hummingbirds to come. The flowers have all filled with nectar, floating their thick perfume up to the nostrils of the sun. And, I got a couple more. Just take you on a little ride here. Road tripping. In between. Everybody's at the rest stop. It's hot, but there's shade over picnic tables, mostly empty except for me. It's windy. The car's been blowing around. Time to take a break from the road. The lane changing, the speed endangering. That border cop's got a lot of nerve looking for normal conversation after pulling every car off the road. Seems like they should all enroll in a class on American democracy. I'm far from home, but getting closer to where I'm from. So this is Texas again, just as complicated as ever. And I think, we'll just do half and half. I'll just close out with another love poem. After a summer spent apart. The refrigerator rosé is past its prime, but it's okay. We drink it anyway. We're used to California wine, and this is French, so we pretend it tastes like it should. We sip between tart kisses. I missed you, and I'm so glad you're home. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, library. Thank you, Kim, for this beautiful book.
Now I have to make it short again. A couple of people have asked about the size of this book, and I will show you. It fits in the pocket of this coat, and that was my goal. Our next reader, there are poets who write serious lithic angry pieces. And there are poets who try to paint the world in better colors with their poetry. And there's obviously space for all of that. I am nowhere near alone in saying that Jennifer Barone is, and just sunshine, you know. We have a couple of those poets here today. Jen was so welcoming to me has been so welcoming to me at her readings, and I love her madly. And welcome up to the microphone, Jennifer Barone. You'll notice I didn't leave till I got the hug.
Thank you for this beautiful book also, and being part of this amazing project. When I saw it, I just saw so many people that I love in this book, and it just made me feel so excited about this project, and also just so many people in this room right now that I adore. Adore them as people, and also their beautiful poetry I just feel honored to have listened to since I moved to San Francisco. So thank you, Kim Shuck, for this beautiful book. Sounds of the City 2. When the fog arrived unannounced, San Francisco complained. She says ships no longer need it, given new technologies. Perhaps we miss the echo of our longing cry into the abyss. There is a silence at the edge of the world that could break your heart. From the sea. It's from the sea our bodies came, with their watery emotions, a tropical storm, a placid wave. 98.6 degrees calms the tempest. My mother, bathing, nourishing me, I return to the watery womb. It's a tidal wave that swells in dreams, reminds me that I can't save everyone. I return to the ocean, to stars that belong to vastness, where forms emerge and depart, where I go to mourn a lonely siren. What do the stars look like in the middle of the ocean? What do the waves feel like? Are they calm? Are they placid without wind? Are they violent as you charge through its swelling between past and future, making you seasick, but not enough to return? Only love can make us swim toward an endless horizon, not knowing what lies there, trusting what is out there might be better than where we left. What we don't know, better than the desperation of a war-torn home, of starvation. What does the middle of the ocean feel like? Where waves meet, crashing into each other, a known desolation into an unknown isolation. Is there a silence so dark you can hear your dreams blaze across the sky and fall into the sea? Can you see a million of them in a vastness that makes you feel so small, so alone? Only angels can hear your prayers. In the middle of the ocean, the wind may stop, all directions possible. The world is seamless here, borderless. There are mountains beneath the surface, a chasm that breaks through the quiet, soft emerging. There's underwater volcanoes slowly spewing their fire into cool blue among we who wade, who burn in the hot baths. So grand they house undocumented creatures whose eyes and arms encircle entire ships. At night, the waves crash upon the deck, catapulting squids that ink their yelp on the breast. All things are made of stardust, mixed into their infinite bodies. So why not a woman whose legs become fins, split in the middle where all life emerges? And we may lay with scaly creatures and find them in our skin if all things come from the sea. And water is life made of ocean and salt to taste. The ocean that started everything, the size friction that became a spark, that turned into beads of sweat, heavy with earth. My flesh longs to return, might reflect the sky and the sunlight in the middle of the ocean, where I came from, where I'm going. There is no sound beyond my own breath that can't encompass all, or the beating of my heart that pounds like waves against a ship. The wind speaks and sings. It carries the dreams. It carries the cries of all who pass through it. Why blue has meant sorrow, I don't know. I dream in shades of blue that carry me across an ever-widening sea. Blood in my veins burns volcanic red, appears in blue rivers that snake underneath my skin. Subterranean aquifers nourish me. At night, I catapult like an arrow to the blue moon. I penetrate the cobalt sky, elusive, azure, disappears as I pass. I will move through the ocean once again, my mother's small but infinite sea. I'll incubate into something new, something mysterious, and enter the blue planet, arriving amorphous as a translucent wave. And last, we three. Once I was an egg inside my mother, inside my grandmother, and we swam for a time together in a small ocean of creation. One who breathed and sang, one submerged, sustained by a snake, one an egg waiting to become. Daughter, mother, grandmother I'd never meet, only in spirit. We had this moment together in a watery continuum stoked by love, shedding its forms in tamora rhythms created by the song of our mother, who hummed her music of the spheres, who rubbed her belly in warm spirals, and muses who sparked their poetry, and sirens cried harmonious melodies and spun in figure eights. Tell the story, she sang, when we lived in the grottos and the sea caves before we crossed the ocean. Remember when we drank from her breast, nourished by the dark waters of love in a bottomless blue. Ricordi, remember, we emerged to transform fear and sorrow, to break the pattern, to return the wild part of us alive in you, unafraid to sing. Thank you.
So the thing about trying to organize poetry is that it's a ridiculous proposition. And so things happen. Some of the things that happen are that I get asked for the reading order at the beginning of the show, and I think I do try to stick with it most of the time, but I've just gotten this overwhelming desire to hear Charlie Getter after Jen Barone, because the contrast is sort of delicious. Charlie Getter, in a sensible world, would be internationally known as a poet, but it's okay with me that he's ours. Please welcome Charlie Getter. That's also okay, Charlie, if you want that one.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me in the back? If you could speak up, please. What? Hi, my name is Charlie. Nice to meet you. I know a lot of you. Hi. Yeah, I was just a mailman like 15 minutes ago. Like sitting there, I was like, oh man, I gotta get done with this crap. Not that the job is crap. It's a job, it's crap. Spanish boats. El voyage españols. Spanish boats didn't always have a crow's nest to look out from, but someone always had to look out. So a presumably spry someone, had to climb the mast and stand atop the square rig. Maybe they looped a rope around themselves in case they slipped. Spanish boats used to sail across a Spanish ocean, though no one thought it was Spanish except for the Spanish. And even then, probably not all of them, especially the Spanish who had to ride and guide those boats. Spanish boats used to try to stay together because the ocean is big, and the boats were not. Not every boat could keep up, and sometimes standing atop the sail, all you could see is the top of another sail, and sometimes no sail at all. And you might wonder, did they founder? Did they wander? Did they remember you were there? As I stand on the mast, looking out at the vast distance and see your sail dip below the horizon, is it your boat going down? Or just away? Or should I look down to see if it's me going under? A drop in a lake makes a tiny wave. In an ocean, it's tinier. If you drop a small planet onto a larger one, some dinosaurs might suffer. If you drop a larger one, all dinosaurs might suffer. Giant things roam free in the cosmos. They wander, although in a straight line, where they encounter other things, then they curve toward each other, celebrating a dance dictated by the nature of things. There are places in this world where people know each other for life. People wake up, go to sleep every day, and wake up and eventually die in the same embrace. But most of us, over time, get peeled off, like the rind on Lori's orange, leaving the juicy sweet we were born to ping pong around the universe and are pulled by gravity somewhere with some people we orbit and sometimes collide with, and dinosaurs suffer for sure. But the dance of planets plays out in the sky, and if you have a slide rule and the knowledge base, you will see the end, when all the orbiting bodies will collide and or explode, and all the things that are, long after the last dinosaur, are turned into a mass of ashes hidden under no sun. A cloud of gas, unintelligible, and all the little bits of everything that has been disintegrated will congeal into something new. It'll cool, and on top of it, in a million indistinguishable drops, oceans will settle, and there will be dinosaurs who maybe should look up and consider knitting sweaters. The world is getting warmer. So let's find some proper SPF. SP, F that. The world can do what it wants. Let's knit sweaters like the dinosaurs should have. And let the sun burn down when it wants to. And if we melt under that intense light, well, that's what happens. And if your gravity is pulled away somewhere across a crazy universe, I pray eventually it's warmed by a beautiful sun where it can turn, and dance, and enjoy all the light of newness, which is new because it starts again. Wake up and open your eyes as the sunlight catches the dust in the air over your head, marking the rays as they spray through a crack in the curtains onto your bed. Mornings are generally misery, but not always. Some days, the dust exposes the quiet rays that herald gentle days like today. Everyone lives a different life. We build walls and turrets, gates and towers, and the waves come and tear them down and out to sea. You told me about problems that you had, and I promised through my clever hands I could build replacements for every part of you that causes you pain. But my hands are not clever enough to change everything. And they're busy building castles, elaborate, impenetrable, and doomed to fail in the face of the moon and the ruin it brings. So the morning I mentioned hasn't happened. It's an aspiration, a morning unpressed by anything. But it will come. And when it does, you should text me and thank me. Because my only biomechanical tool is a pen. And it is an imprecise machine wielded by an imperfect operator who is subject to continual buffering by the winds and tides, as are we both.
Don't say I didn't warn you. So I just saw Adrienne wandering off to the coffee table. But I would like for Adrienne to come up to the mic. And it can be this mic or that mic. The thing about sort of sticking with one or the other is that they are videoing us tonight. So it's good if, I'm pretty sure Charlie was picked up by the microphone no matter where he was, because he's used to reading on a street corner. But if we could stick towards a mic, that'd be great. No, Kenny is better than good. Kenny is delightful. Also, I would like to thank Doug, as everybody thanks me for the beautiful book. Doug laid it out, so. And now, another ray of sunlight, Adrienne Arias.
I will start here with the beautiful book. Yeah, it's perfect. Pocket, any kind of pocket. It's amazing. I love it. And with flowers. Yeah, my favorite. It's spring in your pocket. And this is 3 memories. One, I cut my nails and I remember my mother. She told me, Adrián, think carefully, mucho cuidado. Where are you going to leave or throw your nails? Be careful. Don't throw away your nails in every part. No. Be careful, because where they stay, you will collect them one by one after you have died. It's like, what? Yeah. I was a child. With that story, I really take that seriously. Till now, yeah. Today, I left my nails in the forest. Next time, it will be in front of the ocean. And perhaps one day, in front of your home. Memory number 2. At night, when I look at the sky, I remember my grandmother. Yeah, so beautiful eyes. She was pointing to that star, that one. And she told me, look, Adrián, in that one, there is a child like you. A child like me. Yeah. But he's already a grandfather. What confusion, a child like me, and he's already a grandfather. Okay, abuela. And what is happening? Well, he has a granddaughter by his side. Like you? Yeah, like me. And together, they are looking at the sky. They are looking over there. I know that time I asked so many questions to my abuela, but what I remember the most is the hug she gave me when I started crying. Memory number 3. Today, I dream of the beach of my childhood. And I remember my aunts in the kitchen. Talking, blah, blah, blah. Sí, el pescado, sí, mueve esto para acá. Oh, pásame el cuchillo. Yeah. They are talking and talking and talking. And suddenly they start talking to a fish and telling me, hey, don't be scared, Adrian. We are not crazy. It's very important to talk with your food. Very important. Okay. And also, if you have time and you feel like tender, give a kiss to your fruits and your veggies. I learned a lot with my aunties. Now, I'm kissing my tomatoes, caressing my lettuce, my carrots, and conversing kindly with my olive oil. This will be a happy salad. ¿Uno más? Yeah, if it's one tiny, would be here. This beautiful thing is a collective product. It's a tarot deck that is coming from a dream, and like 2 years ago, and I start inviting visual artists and poets to make this reality thing. And now it's here, published by Nomadic, with so beautiful 81 cards. Kim create 8 poems for this book and 1 image, beautiful image. And I will be reading a poem that I did for King of Pentacles. There is an image by Hugh D'Andrade. And the idea of creating these poems for the tarot is not exactly to explain the meaning of the card, but being in the poetic way that the meaning is for every card. And it's came from a dream. I have this second dream, like around August 2020, and a person was reading me the tarot, and I just listened beautiful metaphors and images, and I asked this person, "What is that? Is it a poem?" Yes, I'm reading the tarot with poems. Yeah, when I wake up, I always just start calling my friend poets because we need poems for the tarot. Okay. King, King, Rey de Oros, King of Pentacles. I have the strength of a bull. My dreams come true. The roots of our ideas grow. All over my body, they grow. For all bodies, it's time to be generous. It's time to give. It's time to give. Don't forget to give. Thank you.
I introduce Paul Corman Roberts so often, I should really come up with a whole array of new things to say. But he's really been my good right hand for some years now, doing poetry stuff and a lot of what I've done. Actually, in this room, the people that the camera's not looking at right now, there are a lot of people without whom a lot of the projects would not have come off. But Paul has pretty much been there for every one of them. So, among other things, as well as doing A, his own poetry, B, several series that have started and faded and started, and the Beast Crawl. This is a seriously powerful organizer in poetry in the Bay Area. Please welcome to the microphone, Paul Corman Roberts.
Yeah, woo, that organizing. It's kicking into high gear again, thank God. So, Charlie, just the concept and idea of dinosaurs implies the existence of dino sweets. I'm an Oakland poet, or at least I get associated or thought of or perceived as an Oakland poet, and that's mostly my fault. But I am also a San Francisco poet, and it's an honor and a privilege to be with this amazing group. The longest 12 seconds, the 38 Express, an ugly, orange, ramshackle, accordion segmented bus. I board most often around 6:10 a.m., a dragon rolling long through the tapestry of Geary Street. The driver, Missy, rarely shows interest in putting on the brakes. All in the name of getting through that next light. I am never late for work, though I frequently experience back pain. One morning, deep in the Tenderloin, the commuter pack next to me, a petite, elderly Asian woman, has the last turn at the exit. Before she's able to get all the way out, one foot on the street, the other on the back Muni's last doorstep, the hydraulics of the bus's back door snap around her ankle. But Missy needs to get to the next stop. The woman's purse leaves behind pens, applicators, cigarettes, and change, all bouncing and getting smaller behind her. The departing bus drags her flailing form. We all scream, "Stop!" And Missy yells, "I don't stop for no goddamn late fare skippers." The longest 12 seconds later, the bus comes to a stop, and our commute ends with an ambulance ride for a moaning but otherwise okay Chinese woman and a transfer walk for everyone else. The Chronicle reports that Missy is on her second DMV suspension, but thanks to the union's archaic appeals process, I get one more ride with Missy later that week. The following week, I am late to work and sleep great for the first time in years. This is also a San Francisco poem. I got a theme here. And this is I'm kind of calling back to the memoriam piece. So this one didn't get covered. A bookstore in California. What thoughts I have of you this morning, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, as I duck onto urban street paths following a mauve brick road towards the sushi trough. Delirious from my thirst trap of the senses, I wander into the upscale cornucopia of plenty, not imagining for any of it that I would see you, standing tall, imposing by the condiment bar, the wry smile as you gaze upon my gaze. I thought I should say something to you, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, but what does a neophyte say to a man of letters who has no doubt literally heard and seen it all? Who also somehow manages to say it all with a smile and a twinkle in the eye that says, I know. I understand. It's nice to meet you too, traveler. Oh, this day will go on endlessly. Where do we go now, Lawrence Ferlinghetti? In my delirium, I stumble into a red neon bookstore of resistance, a sanctuary of dissent. Such broadsides and tracts, whole communities by night, aisles full of citizens, seekers, tweakers, and tourists. Which direction does your beard slouch toward now, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, father of the extended family of all extended families? We wander in and out of the brilliant stacks of our imagination, our sense of the possible following you as we are followed down the shelves by your nervous staffers, who to this day know all too well your target demographic. Thank you. This also is a San Francisco. This is my oldest San Francisco poem. This is a poem I wrote when I first moved to San Francisco over 30 years ago. Some of you have even heard it. The Serve Well Market. It all starts with me coming home from the telemarketing gig, straight up out of the BART station at 11 every night per always, then on up Hyde Street, Wynn Corridor for 6 blocks to the Serve Well Corner Liquor Pusher for an overpriced quart of milk and a partially dehydrated can of raviolis at Ellis Street, when a brother in front of me the size of a brick shithouse strolls 5, maybe 6 paces out into Hyde Street, then whirls 180 degrees on a dime at the sound of some shit talk in the bark of a 40-ouncer smacking off the sidewalk. Another brother a quarter of a block down Ellis throwing down the corner liquor store gauntlet. 2 young men about to get it on in the heart of the one and only Tenderloin, and adrenaline ripples out from the intersection, rolling downhill, pushing uphill, and crawling toward the back of every alleyway over a 3-block radius, and it's all going down in front of the Serve Well Market, and I gotta go. Yes, sirree. I gotta get myself right the fuck across this here traffic, right across this here street, and never in my life have I been so happy to see the gorgeous desolation of O'Farrell Street when pistol shots don't sound like they do in the movies. Pa-choo, pa-choo, pa-choo. No. There are popping percussion that leaks around street corners and boxes in my ears while I hole in against a cleft in a brick wall with another pedestrian, an older, darker sister with canyon-deep wisdom etched in her handsome jawbone, croaks out, "Ah, shit, fool's gonna be dealing out they dying," right before she takes a ginormous hit off of a tiny glass pipe, then grips my shoulders while throwing her left leg around my waist and thrusting her tongue deep into my tonsils, allowing her Coke and E&J flavored crack hail wash into my sinuses, leaving me heated, swollen, and eager, leaving me wanting nothing more than to pull this smooth slab of loving neuroelectric carboplasm deep inside me until my wet has somehow consumed her wet, but my ears pulse with the bastard cosmic hum of the ether and the distant pop, 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 which caresses me warm, safe and sexy in the piss-baked concrete smell of Hyde Street, where I dream the creamy dreams of the possible for a period of time I cannot measure, but which only ever ends with me prone and alone in front of the stark, steely gray judgment that is the entrance gate to my apartment building. Miraculously, with keys, wallet, and change somehow all still in place, miraculously with my cock still dry and comfortably secured inside these still zipped-up Levi's, miraculously with the sickly orange streetlight pall of O'Farrell Street completely abandoned, and every storefront bolted down and tucked snug against each other till the coming daylight, including, I am quite certain, my quart of milk and can of partially dehydrated raviolis safely ensconced within the Serve Well Market. Thank you.
For people listening from outside of the city, that was very much a tour just there. Let's see. I have introduced the next poet in uncomfortable ways for years, so I'm leaning into something else. Clara Sue is a musician and a poet and a poetry organizer and some very, very deep glue in the city, and I am delighted to welcome her to my microphone.
Hi, everyone. So I have San Francisco poems, too, and I will read my bus poem for you later. But we're going to start with this one. This one was written during a day of downpour in Chinatown, called A Good Rain. Tall boy hangar dissolves into a funhouse mirror, but Willy Woo Woo has no playmates today. One white umbrella bounces down the slope. My little jellyfish, the water is running. Road workers, old lurkers, they go underground, all because there's a good rain pouring from the infinity pot. Cold simmer, white tea, red lanterns on a tightrope. Ping, pang, ping pong. The grass is fake, but the pigeons are real. One's for the running feet and one's my love. Dennis' sculptures and Antonio's art. Coffee, weed, and exercise, the story goes. But who's there to hear it? Okay, thank you. Okay, then we go to my dad's house. He lived on 39th Avenue and Fulton, and across the street from his house was a dahlia garden tended by his neighbor. Dahlia, you, tubular fireball, sunstorm velvet, a fairy's powder puff. Dahlias blooming like young Mexican girls twirling their frocks at a fiesta. The old man across the street sits in his chair and rubs his face, stretches his arms up and out, bends and straightens his knees 100 times a day. He watches you, bold and blushing in the light rain. He counts you when the wind is kind. He regards you because you remind him of love. He picks you to accompany his silence. Dahlia, if you were a woman, he would hold your fullness in his hands and taste you with his tongue and call you by a different name, as if she had never left. Thank you. This one was North Beach. It was during those lovely times when we had poetry reading in cafes. A state of grace. Picking through the mundane on a warm evening to dislodge mind's grime. Wandering among city lights, inhaling cigarette smoke, huddles with roasted garlic, salsa, and soy sauce. Silhouettes of pedestrian shape shift, overweight middle-aged couples, wild hair poets saunter between youth, black hair, black rim glasses, black jeans, black jackets, black shoes, Tinkerbell bodies, pale faces and lips, counting the days to the next therapist appointment. In the cafe, eager men babble to tired-looking women, dour-grin homeless mumble for change, and somewhere in a corner, a child's gutted sirens synchronize with the fire engine outside, not knowing this already is paradise. Thank you. So this next one is not a place, but it's about manzanita. It's about the Franciscan manzanita, which is a rare species native to San Francisco, and it had not been seen growing wild since 1947 until it was spotted growing in the Presidio of San Francisco in October 2009. So what happened is that they needed the place to build a Doyle Drive, the Doyle Drive replacement project. So they transplanted the manzanita, and they raised funds for it, and it was paid by the Federal Highway Administration, Caltrains, and the Presidio of San Francisco, and private donors. Manzanita. Manzanita, how naive of me to think we have finally changed. A grove of non-trees, carmine congealed on the branches, peeled skin from a woman's arms, hold tight her love as you become a man. Bright like the bush that opened Moses' eye, twisted limbs at your fingertips, an offering of fruits, the promise of sweet taste after bitterness, bitterness that seems to go on moment after moment. In a garden, your bones are discussed between the artist and the architect, whether it is more suitable to place them on a table with votive candles or to decorate the entrance of a hall. How naive of me to drink your tisane and without a message possess your body. Time becomes intolerable. Manzanita standing in front of a fleet of tanks. Manzanita, concrete pouring, beautiful, the new Doyle Drive, majestic with spectacular views, no more accidents on windy curves. Manzanita, you were the only one. Must we sacrifice ourselves for your beauty? Did we not spend money on your welfare? Did we not pick you up with the gentlest hands and tame you in the grove of non-trees? Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna finish with my bus poem. This is not 38, this is 30. Chinatown. Two women eating kumquats. Two Chinese women sit next to each other on the bus, breasts folding on top of stomachs, on top of thighs. Their faces earthy and provincial, with gray hair chopped away just below the ears. One woman pulls out a kumquat from her paper bag. Eat, she urges the other. Her friend takes a small bite. It's sweet, she nods and puts the rest into her mouth. The bus jerks over a pothole. The woman with the kumquats reaches her brown hand over her friend's thigh and holds her thus. Sit closer, don't fall. They chit-chat in Cantonese, eating kumquats, spitting out the little seeds, listening to the graffiti warnings spoken in English, Spanish, and Chinese, watching the bus filling up with Latinos, Blacks, Whites, and Asians, passing McDonald's and Walgreens, Safeway, and Bank of America. Their bus ride began from a village of rice fields, moo cows, and harvest, the fragrance of kumquat flowers in the air, and cockcrows before the morning light. Crossing the ocean, their mouths puckered over a mixture of salted kumquat and water that eased their sore throats. And land again, cable cars and the Golden Gate Bridge. Under a pagoda roof, they huddled in an ESL class. With each stop, the scene changes. Asphalt, fish markets, police sirens roll past the bus windows. The kumquats are always sweet, golden in a paper bag, plum and piquant. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to read my poem from this book, and then we'll be done. Can sort of gossip a little bit before we have to go. It's called San Francisco. Pick any street corner, any bench, any stoop, any fourth star in this city or over it, and sit quietly. You'll hear the water of time, keys rattling, heart and innovation, Ramatush wonderings, war and colonization and patience, and the mint that only grows on the south side of that mountain right there. You'll hear the poetry of place, popsicle sticks scratching on the curb, clap songs and jump rope spells and chess moves and love curses. Every night, in some back room, QR Hand reads the future and the past in autopsied phrases. The Babar poems. Bob Kaufman's guerrilla words shouted at the unsuspecting somewhere in North Beach. The skyline mutters poems that have been and poems to come, and if you stand in the Café La Bohème's door for too long, you might hear Alfonsito yelling what we will choose to call a poem. Old wives' tales still hover faint along Valencia. You can listen to the purring of various fogs as they pad over Eureka and Noe peaks. Wolo's paintings comment quietly on every new show in Kerouac Alley, and if your hearing's very good, Ambrose's dictionary runs on a loop in a certain bar on a certain bar stool, and the faint laughter from Sam's jokes will still grind Brett's teeth. Prayers for the plague victims in more languages than you can count mumble down Grant and twine with the poems of the Unbound Feet 3. There are songs of burying and unburying to be found all over the Richmond, every corner, every bench, every headstone under the sand at Ocean Beach. Mary and Carol Lee and Paula talk story in classrooms at State, at tables in cafes turned to bars. John's words rattle justice through the rusting bars of Alcatraz, and the voices of those taken in Captain Jack's War have made them into their own songs, too. More wealth in words than all the great libraries that have ever been. I like reading that one for people who actually know, because you hear giggles around the room at different points. Yeah, Bob Kaufman, Alfonso. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to everybody who's watching on the internet. I really appreciate your company for this. This is the beginning of a labor of love, and it's a pleasure to share it with all of you. Thank you.